Hi all, welcome to Kaomi Dev Studio. She found the report card in his backpack on a Thursday evening while he was in the shower. English comprehension section. She had to read the score twice because it didn't make sense. 31 out of 50. Her son reads every single night. She's watched him do it. He sits on his bed with a book propped on his knees and his eyes move across the lines and he turns the pages. She's been telling her sister at least he reads, like it's the one thing she doesn't have to worry about. 31 out of 50. She stands in the hallway holding the paper, and the shower is still running, and she can hear him humming some song in there, and she just doesn't understand. His name is Ethan. He's 11, and he goes to a neighborhood primary school near Tampines. He reads every night. He reads on the bus. He reads during recess sometimes. His teacher even mentioned it at the last conference, said it with a little smile like it was a good thing. So how does a boy who reads every night score 31 on comprehension? She puts the report card back in his bag and zips it up. She doesn't mention it at dinner. But later, after he's asleep, she sits at the kitchen table and opens her laptop, and she types the question that's been circling her head all evening. My child reads but doesn't understand what he reads. The results come back, and what she finds keeps her up until 2 in the morning. Subscribe, because what she discovers changes everything about the way she sees her son. The next afternoon, Ethan's at the dining table, his Chinese assessment book open in front of him. His mother's across from him pretending to sort through bills, but really, she's watching. He reads a passage, 3 paragraphs, maybe 200 words. Takes about 90 seconds. Then he gets to the first question. Why did the character refuse to go outside? He stares at it, picks up his pencil, puts it down, reads the passage again, faster this time, his eyes zipping across the lines. Picks up the pencil again and writes because he didn't want to. She leans over. The answer is right there in the second paragraph, buried inside a scene where the character watches rain streaking down a window and remembers the last time he fell on a wet path and his father didn't come to pick him up. The question isn't asking what happened. It's asking why it mattered. And that's when she starts to understand. Ethan can read every word on that page. He can pronounce all of them. He can read them aloud if you ask him to. But something is missing between the words going in and the meaning coming out. There's a neuroscientist at UCLA named Maryanne Wolf who spent 20 years studying exactly this. She calls it the difference between decoding and deep reading. Decoding is what a machine does. Your eyes scan the symbols, your brain matches them to sounds, and you move on. Deep reading is what happens when the brain slows down and starts doing the hard work, making inferences, connecting ideas across paragraphs, imagining what a character feels based on what they do rather than what they say. Wolf found that these two processes use completely different neural pathways. Decoding is fast. Deep reading is slow, effortful, and it has to be built over years of practice. And here's the part that matters. It can also be lost. Ethan's mother doesn't know any of this yet. All she knows is her son reads a passage about a boy watching rain and writes because he didn't want to, and she can feel that something important is slipping away from him right in front of her. That night, past 11, kitchen table, laptop open, the only light in the flat. She's deep into an article about something called the biliterate brain, and she keeps going back to the same paragraph. The idea is simple, but the implications hit her hard. When you read on a phone, when you scroll through feeds and swipe through captions and skim headlines, your brain learns a pattern. It learns that the goal of reading is to extract the gist as fast as possible and move on. Speed. Surface. Next. A study published in Scientific Reports put people in brain scanners while they read on paper and on smartphones. On paper, the brain settled into a calm, focused state. On the phone, the prefrontal cortex lit up with overactivity, the brain working harder but understanding less, like revving an engine in neutral. And here's what Wolf warned about years ago. The skimming habit doesn't stay on the phone. It follows you to paper. It follows you to textbooks, to exam passages, to novels. Your brain starts treating everything the same way, skimming for the gist, grabbing the surface, and moving on before the meaning can settle. She thinks about Ethan on the bus. He reads on his phone there too. Little articles, message threads, social media captions. His eyes move fast. He looks like he's reading, but his brain learned something different from what she thinks it learned. A meta-analysis in Psychological Bulletin, nearly 100,000 participants across 70 studies, found that increased short-form video use was associated with poorer attention span and weaker inhibitory control. But the study that really stops her is from MIT and Stanford. They tracked 45,000 people over 13 years and found that the average attention span has dropped by 37% since the year 2000, down to 7.6 seconds. She closes the tab and just sits there, Ethan was born into a world that trained his brain to never finish anything, and she handed him the device that did it. Saturday morning. She's at the Hawker Center with her sister, the one she always tells at least he reads. 2 cups of coffee between them, morning crowd moving past. Her sister's daughter is in the same school, same level. Mei Ling got 44 on comprehension. Her sister says, not even bragging, just stating it like the weather. Ethan's mother stirs her coffee and doesn't mention 31. But on the way home, she pulls up something on her phone and the numbers make her stomach drop. In the United States, 67% of fourth graders are not reading at a proficient level. That's not illiterate. These kids can decode words, they just can't understand what they're reading. And the number has been getting worse, not better. The average reading score for 9-year-olds fell 5 points between 2020 and 2022, the largest decline in 30 years. A Fortune article from January this year reported that university professors are discovering students who struggle to read a full page, not because they can't sound out the words, but because their brains have never learned to hold a complex idea across a paragraph. They read in fragments, sentence, 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 each one standing alone, nothing connecting to anything else. Singapore's National Library Board survey says 9 in 10 teenagers still read at least one book a year. But she thinks about what reading means now. Ethan reads, he reads every night. The question isn't whether he reads. The question is what his brain does while his eyes move. She thinks about that comprehension paper. Why did the character refuse to go outside? The answer required connecting a scene in the second paragraph to a memory in the first. It required holding 2 ideas at the same time and understanding how one caused the other. Ethan's eyes went across every word, but his brain never connected the rain to the memory to the refusal. He skimmed through a story about pain and wrote, because he didn't want to. Sunday afternoon, and Ethan's on the couch with his phone. His thumb moves in that rhythm. She started to notice that steady, unconscious swipe. Every 3 to 5 seconds, a new thing. Video, caption, image, swipe. Video, caption, image, swipe. She watches from the kitchen and tries to count. In 2 minutes, he's gone through maybe 30 pieces of content. His face doesn't change between any of them. She remembers what she read about the Singapore Gusto study, the one that followed 168 children for more than 10 years with brain scans. Children exposed to high screen time before age 2 showed faster specialization of visual and cognitive networks, but the connections between those networks were weaker. The brain developed speed without depth, like a highway with no exits. And there was something else, a detail that stuck. For the children whose parents read to them frequently from age 3, the link between screen time and altered brain development was significantly weakened. Reading aloud to a child didn't just teach vocabulary. It literally protected the architecture of their brain. She can't remember the last time she read to Ethan. He was maybe 5, 6, at the most. He could read by himself by then, so she stopped. Everybody stops. You teach them the words and then you hand them the book and walk away. But Wolf's research says the quiet part out loud. Teaching a child to decode words is not the same as building a reading brain. A reading brain needs years of slow, difficult, boring practice. It needs to sit with a paragraph that doesn't make sense and work through it instead of swiping past. It needs an adult sitting next to them asking, "What do you think that character is feeling?" Nobody told her that. Nobody told her that reading alone in bed, while technically reading, might be training the fast pathway instead of the deep one. Monday evening, Ethan's at the table with his assessment book, same comprehension passage from last week. His mother sits down next to him, no phone, no laptop, just a cup of tea she doesn't drink. "Read it out loud to me," she says. He looks at her funny. "I already read it." "I know. Read it again." Slowly. He sighs, but he does it, and she notices something immediately. When he reads aloud, he goes faster over the hard parts. The paragraph about the rain and the memory, he rushes through it, like he's trying to get to the other side. "Stop," she says. "What just happened in that part?" He's looking at the rain. And what does the rain make him remember? He pauses, goes back, reads the sentence again, slower this time. He fell on a wet path, and his father didn't come. So why doesn't he want to go outside? His mouth opens, closes, opens again, because the rain reminds him of the time nobody came for him. And going outside feels like that again. She watches his face change. Something clicks behind his eyes. He got it. Not because the information wasn't there, but because for the first time he slowed down enough to let it in. She doesn't make a speech. She just picks up her own book, opens it to where she left off, and reads quietly next to him. They sit there like that for 40 minutes, not saying much. He goes through 2 more passages, and she asks him questions after each one. Not test questions, just what do you think happens next, and how would you feel if that happened to you? On Tuesday, she does it again. On Wednesday, he finishes before she sits down and says, "Ma, that one was actually kind of sad." She almost drops her tea. Thursday evening, same kitchen table. His assessment book is open again, and she's beside him, her own book in hand. He reads the passage. She doesn't say anything this time. He gets to the first question, picks up his pencil, and writes. She glances over. It's 3 full sentences. Not a perfect answer, maybe not even a great one. But the character's feelings are in there. The connection between the 2 paragraphs is in there. The word because is doing real work for the first time. He looks up. Is that right? She doesn't answer the question. She just picks up her tea, takes a sip, and says, "Read me the next one." His pencil goes back to the page. Outside, the MRT rumbles past, and a crow calls from the corridor railing. The kitchen light buzzes the way it always does after 7. Ethan reads, and this time his eyes move a little slower. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more trending videos like this one.